agree with Alan Greenspan, we ought to just eliminate the debt ceiling. Oh, absolutely. We do.
The ability of almost every working American to access more credit than they should have been able to masked the underlying fact that lower and middle class incomes were not rising.
That's not a tenable strategy. Isn't now the time to eliminate it? Oh, we've been a long time ago to eliminate it.
Let's put aside terrorism. Let's talk only about our own homegrown animals that are patrolling America right now. So it goes down to the simplest thing. Be prepared, be vigilant.
The moon is en route to blot out the sun in just a few hours. Just a few hours. The nation is gripped. The nation is paying attention. There are hordes of people. There are hordes of people, both left and both right, men and women, black and white, Hispanic. They're all flooding into towns across America to see what is an amazing thing. What is an amazing celestial event that you only get about 2 or 3 times in a lifetime, if you're lucky, if you're paying attention. The Incans thought that when they saw a total eclipse of the sun, that there was a giant celestial jaguar eating the sun. So they were also terrified of the fact that once he got through the mighty sun, he would drop down from the heavens and start to eat the Inca people. So because of this terror, what the Incan tribes did is they would gather together with spears and knives and the type of weaponry that they used in the day, as well as their dogs, who they would beat in order to get them to bark and growl. And they would point their spears and their sticks at the sky and scream in order to chase and scare off the jaguar before it plummeted from the heavens and started to eat them. The solar eclipse I can only imagine what a profound effect it had on peoples in ancient times. You know, the idea, what possibly could have been going through their head to see something like that taking place. And here we are, 2017, still captivated. But there's a lot of underlying issues when I think about the solar eclipse. And the biggest one is the fact that we all can agree that it's awesome. So it's not that we live in a nation where we all cannot agree, where we will have one group of people on one side to view the solar eclipse and another group on the other. No, we all can agree that this is sweet. We all can agree that this is a very interesting, very important, very rare sight, and we want to take part in it. We want to enjoy it. We're all going to enjoy it together. And some people might have this shirt on, others might have that shirt on, some might have this bumper sticker. But we're all going to pool up. We're all going to party together. We're all going to bring in the eclipse. We're all going to have the glasses, and we're all going to enjoy it. And why is that such a big deal to me? Because I know issues of the day are what divide us, not our overall human experience. And the eclipse has proven that. The eclipse has proven that to me. A nation captivated. A nation captivated has nothing to do with nuclear war. It has nothing to do with statues. It has nothing to do with racism. We have protests in my city today about anti-racism protests. Anti-racism protests. I don't know. What do you think about it? I laughed out loud today. I wake up very early. I started writing, and I began to laugh out loud when I saw anti-racism protests. I thought to myself, what are we doing? What are we doing here? What is the goal? We're rallying together to fight racism in 2017. What is the deal here? And I guess it's a stab back at the white supremacists or something like that. I'm not sure what it is. There is definitely a there are diminishing returns on riots and protests after a certain point, right? There is a certain point of diminishing returns when it comes to a protest, to negate a protest, to negate another protest, to negate another protest, to the point where you've reached such obscurity that it's almost kind of like, what are we doing here? Right? But back to the eclipse. And then I have a story for you, a very simple story about a black father and a white father and how I know this nation can make it. And what you can do and the power that you have as one person, as one man, as one woman, the power that you have, if you have the balls to use that power. You know, when Spider-Man jumps off of a roof and shoots that web out of his hand, that takes balls. Sure, he might live if he hits the ground, or he might not, or whatever it is. We talk about superpowers a lot in this society because superpowers are what make blockbusters nowadays. So they sell, they make money. You've got your own superpowers, but it takes a lot of balls to use them. Okay? I don't mean in the literal sense. You know what I mean. But when I look at the solar eclipse, it also speaks to just what preppers and survivalists have warned of for a long time. That's hysteria. That's mass hysteria. You're seeing a type of mass hysteria. The glasses are sold out. We've got to find a place to view it. I need to create a viewer of... We're seeing it's a fun type of hysteria. But it's a hysteria, nonetheless. Brought on by an event that we have zero control of. Isn't that another thing that's amazing? So little control, in fact, that my son's school is closing early because they would be doing buses and dismissal right around the maximum. And there's just too much. There's nothing they can do about it. They can't mitigate it in any way. So they're closing early. I'm gonna pick him up at 11 o'clock. And we're probably going to go to the Science Museum and have a ball. And then we'll head home and watch the amazing journey of our moon blotting out the sun. We're going to see 86% blotted out, which is still pretty sweet. What else? The hysteria. How quickly it can be turned on, right? So quickly. So quickly, and the fact, and one of the most amazing things about the heavens is that we can't control it. That's what really stuck out to me when I saw that my son was getting dismissed early. I said, "Look at this. It's all been changed just because the sun and the moon." And you realize how little control us primates have on things, right? We think on this little rock we've got omnipotent control of what happens and when and times and dates. Two celestial bodies cross paths, and that's it. People have to change their schedule. People get hysterical. What am I getting at? It's an argument for the fact that you don't have control. All right? You control freak you. You're biting your fingernails off. You're ripping your hair out of your head. No, you don't have control. The best you can do is gain some control by buying some emergency food storage, having self-defense, securing your home, making sure that you are being as self-reliant as you possibly can at this point in your life. Because you don't have control. These beautiful buildings, these cars, these people, these freshly showered people in the vehicles around me, they're living in something that is like, it's a speck in history. Comfort like this is merely a speck in history, and every time I see a riot in this nation, every time I see a riot in this nation, I ask myself one big question, and it is what we're rioting over as important as this level of sophistication that we've made it to? And we've had to jump incredible hurdles, shameful and terrible hurdles to get to this point. But the thing about riots and hysteria are there is no off switch. There is no off switch. And the times are changing. It's not 1970 anymore, you know? You're not going to have cops show up and start shooting people. And if they do show up and start shooting people, the access to guns is such that they're going to shoot back. There is no quiet way to deal with hysteria in this nation. We have to be very careful about what we riot for. And I say riot because that's what we do now. We don't protest. I wrote an article last week, and one of the things in the article was the fact that we've seen the end of the peaceful protest here in America. It's done. It's over. We're not going to see people standing around peacefully protesting and any good coming of it. It's not going to happen. The news only wants the blood. They only want the fire. They only want the death. And they are the kings. The media is the kings because they rather are the kings because they decide what gets the, what gets the love, what gets the attention, what gets to win the popularity contest for the day. Now, I want to switch gears. This is not going to be a long podcast, okay? I got work to do. I've got to go stand in line for some admission, and, that's that. But what I will say is this. Folks. I ran into a man at the supermarket. Kids in tow at the supermarket. Right? Children driving me remotely insane. Not too bad. Trying to get through the market with two young boys, it's not easy. But we're in the toy aisle. My mom is checking out. Right? So that she can have some sanity while I don't have to be captured with children inside of a, well, you know what it is. It's this little tiny aisle where 3 people can barely fit. The 2 kids, they're climbing the candy, right? They're grabbing in the soda thing. They're looking at magazines. It's kind of a nightmare. Carter tries to get his hand caught between the rolling and the metal piece. So we went over to look at toys, whatever. And I'm standing there with the 2 boys just talking to them. And probably a guy my age, black man about my age, has nearly a newborn on his left shoulder. He has a phone in his ear on his right shoulder. And he's just walking through there, and he looks at me and he smiles at me, and I see the baby and I see him. He says nothing. This is just a day ago now. He says nothing. This is in Virginia too, Richmond, Virginia, capital of the Confederacy. He says nothing, he smiles. He walks up to me, points at the 2 boys, gives me a thumbs up, and shakes my hand. Clearly listening to someone on the phone, he was obviously in the middle of a conversation. And he took the time out to come shake the hand of another father. And it would have had some great meaning in and of itself, because I hold great pride in what fathers do, what real fathers do, not the ones that run, not the ones that ignore, but the real fathers of America. I hold real pride in what they do. Outside of that, it's also one of those things where I think to myself, wow, this is how we can heal. A simple handshake, and I felt good. I felt good about what I was doing as a man, and I felt better about what was happening in the nation. I said, not everyone is tainted. Not everyone is tainted. Not everyone believes what the news says. And I already know this to be true because I have a vast listening audience who prove that to me all the time, of different races and religions. But when you get it in person, you can do anything behind a computer. You can talk behind a computer. You can make happy comments, mean comments. You can do all types of things, right, behind the veil of a computer. And it's not really as interesting or as exciting. But what I will tell you is this. When you extend your hand to another person in reality, when you put yourself, see, what it comes down to is you're putting yourself at risk. And as humans, we appreciate risk because we are risk-taking animals. That's what we've come to be in this day and age, right? We're risk-taking creatures. We're creatures who take great risk. And it pays off sometimes, and sometimes it doesn't. But when we see someone extend their hand in risk, in a time as tumultuous as this, right? When you're talking about a time as tumultuous as this, we take this great of a risk, and we say to ourselves, now I wonder what it's going to look like if I get out here and I take this risk and I put my hand out to this man of a different color with 2 kids. He's in a vulnerable situation as is, right? And you say to yourself, the risk. And that risk emboldened me. It did. And it told me that we all have the power to heal this nation. One handshake at a time. It might sound mushy. It might sound hallmarky. What do you want me to do? Do you want me to lie to you? Do you want me to not bring these things up? This is what happened to me. And it made me feel something inside. This man was a bigger man than me. He decided to approach a man who was busy with his children to tip his hat to the fact that he was going through it. And with the baby on his shoulder, he also said to me without saying a single word, "Look, brother, I'm going through it too. We're all going through it. And we're going to go through it together, and that's how this is going to work." And I said to myself, wow, this is amazing. This is possible. We can do this. We can do this as a nation. We can make this happen. We can make this happen. So go enjoy the eclipse, okay? I got to go stand in a line and try to be one of the first 500 to get these solar eclipse glasses. I'll talk to you later. It's James Walton with the I Am Liberty Show.